What causes some men to opt out of work and responsibilities? Is it the economy? Societal pressures? Perhaps it's something as simple as a fear of failure, or maybe the weight of a world that feels rigged. If you feel this way, you're not alone. Millions of men are quietly stepping back from life itself. Looking back into history, a lone few found solutions. Viktor Frankl, a neurologist, survived Nazi concentration camps in World War II by discovering something about human nature that may explain today's withdrawal epidemic. Furthermore, Marcus Aurelius and the ancient Stoics uncovered why some men check out when life feels meaningless. These thinkers dared to look at the psychological causes rather than to cast blame, and showed us the hidden paths back to engagement. You've surely felt it before, that hollow sensation when nothing you do seems to change anything, when every job feels like robbery, when working harder only brings tighter chains. In this video, you'll learn the 3 psychological forces pulling men away from adult life in the 21st century. By the end, you'll understand why opting out feels like self-preservation and discover one practical solution that can shift everything. Let us begin our journey at the first force, the meaning crisis that leaves men adrift. Viktor Frankl discovered that humans aren't driven by pleasure or power. Instead, we're driven by meaning. When that drive goes unanswered, motivation evaporates. He called it the existential vacuum, an inner emptiness that spreads when instinct no longer tells you what to do, and tradition no longer tells you what you ought to do. It begins mundanely. Sunday arrives, and the week's busyness stops. Suddenly you're alone with your thoughts and face to face with nothing. No purpose pulling you forward. No reason to get dressed. This void doesn't stay empty. Instead, it fills with depression, doom scrolling, or addiction. Your libido goes haywire. Money becomes an obsession as an attempt to solve things. You're not broken. You're responding to meaninglessness the only way your brain knows how, by trying to solve the problem. Think of a river without banks. It spreads everywhere and goes nowhere. That's consciousness without purpose. Frankl watched men in concentration camps survive on scraps when they had someone to return to, while others with more food gave up because they had no why for their suffering. He who has a why to live can bear almost any how, Nietzsche wrote, and Frankl proved it under the worst conditions imaginable. In short, those who hold meaning in life can have strength in even the worst of times, but those without meaning are closer to the walking dead, lifeless and purposeless. But here's the other side of this existential vacuum. Healthy minds need tension. Not stress, but creative tension between where you are now and where you want to go. Frankl called it new dynamics. If you remove challenge from life, you don't get happiness. You get malaise and a dull mind. Your nervous system was built to solve problems, not to rest in perfect comfort. Therefore, the cure isn't less responsibility. It's finding the right responsibility that is actually worth the challenge. Meaning isn't abstract. It's specific. That single task that brings you towards your goal. That person in your life who needs you. That attitude of being able to achieve more than anyone else. Life is always asking you questions, and your actions are the answer. Start by naming the void you feel, then find what is worth the challenge in life, and start taking action towards that. Meaning is built through that action. Next, we will examine the psychological patterns that keep men trapped in eternal boyhood. Marie-Louise von Franz identified the eternal boy, the man who lives provisionally, always waiting for real life to begin later. Every job is temporary. Every relationship has an escape hatch. Commitment feels like death because it means choosing one path and losing all the others. You may have seen him, or are him. Grand plans that never touch ground. Passionate starts that cool at the first wall of boredom. He can work 18 hours when enchanted, then collapse when long-term consistency and discipline are required. Beneath the charm lives a cold shadow that drops people and duties ice cold once fascination fades. The cause of this is typically a mother complex that runs deep. He seeks an all-giving figure who removes burden and pain from his life. Therefore, adult reciprocity and responsibility feels like punishment. Picture a bird that won't land. Flying feels like freedom and is comfortable, but never touching earth means never building anything real. Carl Jung's prescription was raw and simple. Work, not exciting work, not passionate work, just work, thoroughly, past the point where you want to quit. This is a form of mental training where you simultaneously build the skill of discipline while also proving to yourself that you can actually do difficult things. However, Martin Seligman's experiments revealed something darker. In one test, dogs given inescapable shocks eventually stopped trying to escape, even when escape became possible. They'd learned their actions didn't matter. Humans show the same pattern after facing unsolvable tasks or uncontrollable pressures time and time again. Their effort drops, learning slows, and their mood darkens. One success isn't enough to reset the belief. I'm sure you've been there. Perhaps you've failed enough times that trying feels pointless. Your nervous system does its job and memorizes the lesson. Nothing I do changes anything, you might say. The man-child complex avoids limits and needless difficulty, and the learned helplessness causes them to expect failure. Together they create a perfect trap, endless switching and giving up, resulting in nothing gained. Recovery requires controlled wins and sustained practice past the switching point. When boredom strikes, that's precisely when you need to stay. Each moment you continue, when you want to quit, rewrites the program. Your nervous system learns effort matters again. The eternal boy becomes a man not through insight, but through endurance and skills building. Yet individual psychology is only one piece of the puzzle. Our final concept reveals how the system itself teaches men to withdraw. The ETN team spent some time analyzing user anecdotes about Antiwork, and they all tell a consistent story. There are moving goalposts that make success impossible. Work multiple jobs, buy a home, start a family, on wages that shrink while rents explode. Your grandparents might understand, but your parents repeat bootstrap scripts that ignore reality. Being called lazy for naming the math becomes unbearable. You may have seen it firsthand. Exceed your quota, and management quietly makes it the new baseline without raising pay. Stay late working unpaid overtime, and that donated labor becomes expected. In one case, a worker refused to work off the clock and asked for written overtime approval. He got unfair threats instead of cooperation and was promptly fired. I don't work for free became survival, not rebellion. Think about the surveillance tools some companies employ. Timers tracking every bathroom break, metrics measuring every keystroke. This sort of behavior causes trust to evaporate. Any extra effort gets captured and weaponized against you. Under these conditions, quiet quitting isn't nihilism, it's risk management. You're protecting what little energy time and dignity remain. At some point in Western societies, something switched for the younger generation. Your parents could raise families, save money, take vacations, buy homes on single incomes. Now, dual incomes barely cover rent. Entry-level jobs demand years of experience for poverty wages. Benefits feel like silly prizes. Risk shifts downward. Security evaporates. Blame follows when the pressure continues to build but has no outlet. Thread after thread ends with a similar sentiment. Don't work for free. Your boundary protects everyone's baseline. Anti-work isn't refusing effort. It's refusing exploitation. It's demanding dignity before re-engagement. The system taught you that trying harder brings tighter chains. No wonder you stopped playing a game designed for you to lose. Yet, as we've discussed, no amount of shouting blame in an echo chamber will solve the problem. So how do we find our way back when both psychology and society seem stacked against us? How does this understanding change anything when you're still in that bedroom, still facing those heavy chains? The answer is always simpler than we think. Start taking action. Motion creates momentum. Momentum, no matter how small, cascades into change. Remaining stagnant will keep you stuck, but moving towards something, even if you are unsure or fearful, will start a chain reaction. Start with the Path to Meaning framework, one practice that bypasses both internal blocks and external noise to help identify a path to creating meaning through action. Step 1. List 3 activities that gave you genuine satisfaction last year. Not external rewards, but internal fulfillment. Writing that story nobody read. Fixing your neighbor's computer. Drawing fan art of your favorite game character. Small things count. Don't censor yourself. Step 2. Choose one tiny action connected to those satisfying moments. If teaching felt good, make one tutorial video. If fixing things mattered, repair one item. Make it embarrassingly small. 10 minutes of effort, maximum. Step 3. Commit to this micro-action for exactly 7 days. Don't expect transformation. Don't measure results. Just show up for 5 minutes daily. Your nervous system needs proof that effort connects to outcome, and proof comes through repetition, not intensity. This simple 3-step process will help ease you into a new approach to life. From there, keep going further. Don't stop at the first try. Grab life by the horns and don't let go until you get what you are looking for. You can do so much more than you think. The practice seems too simple because healing happens in drops, not floods. Your psyche needs evidence that showing up matters, and evidence accumulates slowly, like snow. 7 days of tiny actions can crack 20 years of learned paralysis. You're not lazy. You're grieving a future that was promised then stolen. You're not weak. You're responding rationally to irrational societal demands. The meaning crisis, eternal boy complex, and rigged system created perfect conditions for withdrawal. But the cure is found in that specific action you take today, rather than needing grand outcomes. Life is asking you one question. What tiny thing needs doing right now? Think carefully, my friend. Your answer shapes the path you take from now on. Thank you for joining me on this exploration into men's psychology and the hidden forces behind opting out of life. If this resonated, please share your reflections in the comments below and subscribe for more journeys into the depths of practical psychology, philosophy, and personal development. Until next time.